Once upon a time, there was a brave boy, and this young boy lived alone in a jungle. And the name of this brave jungle boy was Mowgli. One day, as Mowgli was walking deep into the forest, there was a golden glow that caught his eye. When he bent down and picked it up, he saw that it was a dusty map that was probably very old.
Oh, this looks like a treasure map. Oh my goodness!
And so then Mowgli started to follow the path it drew because he wanted to go and find the treasure. On the other hand, Goldilocks was wandering around her garden picking flowers she wanted to make a crown from. While she was happily running from pink flowers to red ones, a tiny butterfly started flying around her. However, at some point she realized that while picking flowers, she had gone very deep into the jungle and had lost her way. She got worried, so she sat down on a rock and started crying. At that moment, the jungle boy Mowgli appeared and went to her. Mowgli was very curious.
What's wrong? Why are you crying?
He asked her.
I was going to make a crown out of flowers. But then suddenly I got lost.
Mowgli told Goldilocks that she should calm down a bit.
I grew up in the jungle, so I know my way around it very well. I will gladly take you home,
he said. Goldilocks was very surprised that Mowgli had grown up in the jungle. She saw his hand.
So then, what are you carrying?
She asked him. The jungle boy said that this was a mysterious treasure map and that he could help her if she wanted him to. Goldilocks accepted Mowgli's offer with excitement, and they started to follow the map together. As they walked through the forest, they found their way blocked by a very deep river. Mowgli fashioned a bridge from tree branches and made sure that Goldilocks got over safely. After a short while, they reached the entrance of a cave. At this entrance, there were strange symbols that had been carved into the stone. Mowgli examined the map carefully and spent some time trying to figure out what the symbols meant.
These symbols must be telling us something. Come on, let's go inside.
When they entered the cave, they held on tightly to each other so that they would not lose their way. As they were going deeper, Goldilocks suddenly felt the stones moving under her feet, and it made her unsteady. Mowgli grabbed Goldilocks and pulled her away, and then the ground opened up, and a rope tied itself around his ankle and pulled him up, so he was hanging upside down.
No! Goldilocks! I'm trapped here!
Goldilocks carefully examined the rope and followed it to its source. She decided she needed to look for a way to stop the wheels. Goldilocks took a large stone and hit the wood with all her strength. And then when it broke, the cog stopped turning, and Mowgli slowly came down to the ground.
I did it, Mowgli! I really did it! You are incredible, Goldilocks! You were really awesome, you know?
After that, they carried on going into the cave. Finally, they reached the treasure room that was hidden deep in the cave. And that was when they stumbled into an old chest. When they opened the chest, instead of finding a pile of gold coins, they found 2 bracelets that were linked together. Mowgli untied the bracelets and gave one to his new friend.
Oh, look! My one has friendship on it! And the one I have here says trust.
The 2 new friends overcame the difficult test in the cave with unity and solidarity and found the real treasure. After putting on the bracelets, Mowgli kept his promise. And then he took Goldilocks back home to her house. Their friendship, which started by them agreeing to cooperate, lasted forever, thanks to friendship and thanks to trust.
One day, when the forest was shining brightly, little Cheppy and her friend Teddy Bear were trying to blow leaves around on the ground.
Oh, I won!
Wait a minute, my bear friend. Our leaves flew side by side and landed in the same place. Look!
Ah, yes! Well, Then we both won?
Yes! 2-2!
Cheppy loved to spend time with her bear friend. Whenever they were hungry, they would go to her parents and eat wonderful forest fruits together, because Cheppy's family has lived together with animals in this forest for centuries. So much so that even their neighbors were a giraffe and a lion. On one of the tree-hugging days, little Cheppy went for a stroll in the forest. She heard a strange crying sound while she was hugging every tree she saw, big or small. She walked carefully, listening to where the sound was coming from, and finally saw a child crying.
Ho! I brought you the greetings of the forest and the wind.
Huh? Who are you? What does ho mean?
All here is my home, and this is how we greet. Ho!
You live in the forest?
Yes, my name is Cheppy. So what's your name?
Coco. But I don't like my name at all.
Coco? How beautiful! Coco means starry nights in our forest language.
Really?
Of course. My name also comes from a fairy with sparkly wings.
Listen, fairy with glittering wings. I'm lost here. I was on a forest trip with my family, but now I can't find them. I'm sure they're looking for me everywhere. Can you help me?
Walkie Gookie!
What?
I mean, of course I will help. No one knows this forest better than me.
Cheppy and Coco started walking through the dense forest.
How do you walk without shoes? Don't your feet hurt?
Shoe? What is that?
Like mine, look. So that you don't get thorns in your feet.
Aha! You're talking about paka-pakas. We, the forest family, do not wear paka-pakas on the tree-hugging days because our feet are the Earth's best friends.
Coco was very impressed with the life of his new friend. Just like Cheppy, he started walking by hugging the trees. However, after a while, a black panther appeared before them.
Ah! It is a panther! Let's run!
While Coco was trying to climb the tree in fear, Cheppy was giggling in front of him.
What are you waiting for, Cheppy? Run away or she'll catch you!
Cheppy calmly went to the panther. Speaking in a whisper, she hugged the panther and then got on her back. Coco couldn't believe what he saw.
Panther Muna will help us, Coco. We'll find your family quicker if we act together.
Coco approached the panther Muna with cowardly steps. Muna kissed Coco's cheek.
When you want to stop, just shout Pakuna.
Cheppy and Coco were moving so fast on the panther's back that the ball bugs they passed were affected by their wind and turned upside down. Cheppy's keen ears heard a melody as Panther Muna was speeding along the ivy-filled forest path.
I heard a fi-fi. We better slow down.
Pakuna!
Panther Muna stopped slowly.
What does fi-fi mean?
Fi-fi means melody in forest language.
While Cheppy and Coco were walking silently, they saw a giant bear appeared before them.
This. Yes, a bear.
No, this is my harmonica.
A harmonica? What is that?
Musical instrument in Bear's hand. He does the melody with it. I mean, the fi-fi. My family may be here somewhere, Cheppy.
Cheppy approached the giant bear and asked him where he found this harmonica. The bear said he found it on the way to the swamp.
We must go to the Bati Bati, Coco. Come on.
What? Oh,
need to learn the forest language, Coco.
Cheppy and Coco quickly got on the panther Muna, and they set out for the road to the swamp, namely to the Bati Bati. After a while, Coco heard his parents shouting, "Help! Is there anyone?"
Help! Help! Please help us!
That's my mom and dad's voice. We must hurry.
Panther Muna finally brought them to the edge of the swamp. Coco's mom and dad were indeed there, but they were buried in the swamp.
Mommy! Daddy!
Coco! No, Coco! There's a panther behind you!
Do not worry. We will help you.
Cheppy saw a monkey friend watching them curiously at the top of the tree.
Oh, Maymay, can you throw me a long mapaya?
She asked him for a long and strong rope.
What does mapaya mean?
The monkey gave his strongest rope to Cheppy. The panther Muna, Cheppy, and Coco grabbed the end of this rope and threw the other end to Coco's family in the swamp. And they rescued them from the swamp with great effort. Coco immediately hugged his parents.
I was so scared that I would never see you again.
On the other hand, Cheppy was very happy to see this family together again. Aren't you going to introduce us to this weird-looking friend of yours, Coco?
She's not weird. She's a fairy with sparkly wings. A friend who is friendly with animals and can speak the forest language.
I am very happy to meet you. I hope we meet again one day.
Don't forget to wear your paca-pacas next time.
Cheppy jumped on the panther Muna and went away.
Goodbye, Coco. I mean, starry nights.
When Coco left the forest with his family, his mind was still on this enchanted forest. When he got home and entered his room, he came to his desk and wrote in his diary the words he had learned in the forest language, because he understood that to learn another language is to learn other lives.
Hoi!
Once upon a time, right on the edge of the forest, lived a golden-haired girl. This golden yellow-haired girl's name was Goldilocks. She had such amazing and admirable locks that everyone who saw her was mesmerized. But despite her sweetness, at times she could be a rather naughty little girl. Every time she stepped out to play, her mother would have to warn her to behave. "Darling, please stay in the backyard and don't go into the woods." Deep into the forest in a shack lived a bear family. A broad-shouldered papa bear, a medium-sized mama bear, and a baby bear. Mama Bear always woke up early to prepare oatmeal porridge for breakfast. One morning, Baby Bear woke up earlier than usual and wanted to eat his porridge. But it was too hot.
Mama, can we go out for a walk in the woods until our porridge cools down?
Mama, Papa and Baby Bear left their porridges on the table and went out for a walk. The same morning, Goldilocks was playing in the backyard while waiting for her mum to prepare breakfast. But she was so bored of playing in the same yard all the time, and she was very curious about the deep parts of the forest.
What would happen if I just went for a walk?
She looked around, seeing that no one was around. She began running into the forest. When she got tired, she stopped and looked around.
What a beautiful forest! Flowers, trees. Why didn't I come here before?
She began to walk deeper into the forest. In the meantime, walking around with his family, the baby bear saw a beehive on the branch of a tree.
Such a big beehive. I'm sure it is full of honey. Papa, can we eat some honey?
No, my boy, that belongs to the bees. It's their home.
We can't go in anybody's home and eat their food. It's not right.
You're right. I think I will have to wait until we go home for my breakfast.
Meanwhile, Goldilocks walked all by herself for such a long time. Finally, she got lost. She tried to turn back but could not make out the right way. She got really tired and hungry. She was almost in tears of her tiredness. She walked a little more, and finally she came to the end of the road. And she came across the house of the bear family in between the trees. She quietly approached the house, walked around it, but she could not see anyone. She knocked on the door, but nobody answered. Then she looked through the window. She saw 3 hot steamy plates on the table. She went back to the door again, and this time she knocked hard. The door opened. Goldilocks was overjoyed. She looked in and yelled,
Anybody home?
When there was no answer, she entered. She approached the table. On the table there were 3 bowls of porridge, 1 big, 1 medium-sized, and 1 small. Because she was so hungry, she wanted to eat the big one first. But the moment she put the spoon in her mouth, her mouth burnt, because the porridge was still too hot. She immediately reached the medium bowl, but she did not want to eat this either, because it was too cold.
It's too cold.
Finally, she dipped her spoon into the smallest one.
This porridge is neither cold nor too hot. It's exactly the way I want it.
So she ate all the porridge in the smallest bowl. When she was done with her breakfast and felt full, she wanted to sit on one of the 3 chairs in front of the chimney to rest for a while. One of the 3 chairs was a big one, the other one medium, and the last one was a small one. First she tried to sit on the big one, but she couldn't even climb on it. She tried the medium one, but this one was very hard. It was very uncomfortable. Finally, she sat down on the smallest one. This one was very comfortable and exactly her size. But suddenly, the chair broke into pieces with a very loud noise. Goldilocks found herself on the floor and she did not know what to do. She walked through to the next door, and here there were 3 beds. A big, a medium-sized, and a small one. First she tried the big bed. This one was too big for her and also too hard. Second one was a little bigger than her size, but also too soft. So she lied down on the 3rd and smallest bed. This one was exactly her size, and it was very comfortable. So comfortable that Goldilocks fell asleep right away. Whilst Goldilocks was sleeping, the bear family came back home. Papa Bear had some wood with him that he collected for the chimney. Mama Bear had fresh berries, and Baby Bear just could not wait to have his porridge. When they arrived home, they went straight to the table. Papa Bear had a look at his bowl and was so angry.
Somebody tasted my porridge.
Mama Bear also looked at her bowl.
Somebody also tasted my porridge.
And when Baby Bear looked at his bowl, he began to cry.
That somebody also tasted my oatmeal porridge. Not only tasted it, also ate it all.
They got up and started to look around. Papa Bear noticed his chair in front of the chimney.
Somebody sat on my chair. Look, it's on a different spot.
And then it was Mama Bear's turn to complain.
Somebody also sat on my chair.
And just like before, the baby bear began to cry again.
Somebody also sat on my chair, but broke it too.
The bear family curiously went to the bedroom.
Somebody lied on my bed. Look how it's undone.
Somebody lied on mine too.
Somebody lied on my bed too, and is still sleeping in it.
Papa Bear walked next to Baby Bear's bed and saw that someone really was sleeping in his bed. Slowly lifted up the blankets, and they were really surprised to see a little girl sleeping in the bed.
What is a little girl doing in our house?
Tell this little girl to get out of my bed now.
Waking up to Baby Bear's crying, Goldilocks saw 3 bears in front of her and she ran out of the room in great fear. She went out of the house and started running without looking back. She got breathless from running, but she did not stop. And she didn't even know which way to go. Right at that moment, she saw her parents coming across from the forest. When she didn't end up going back home, they went out looking for her. Goldilocks was very happy to see her parents. She ran and hugged her mother.
Oh, Mummy!
We were so worried. Are you okay?
From now on, I will always listen to you. I will never leave without letting you know.
Goldilocks hugged her parents really tight. From that day on, as she promised, she always listened to her parents and did nothing without having their permission. She was a well-behaved and kind girl forever. Once upon a time, there was a poor widow who lived with her son. Her son Jack did not work because he was a very lazy young man. That was why they almost had no money.
Mom, is there anything to eat? I'm hungry.
Each passing day, they had become poorer and poorer until they had come to a point where they had to sell their cow, Milkwhite, because they could no longer feed her. Jack's mother told him to bring the cow to the marketplace and sell it for the best price he could get. Maybe then they could buy some food to eat. On his way to the market, Jack came across a somewhat weird-looking old man. The old man had a look at the cow and turned to Jack and said,
Hi, my boy. If you give me this cow, I will give you very valuable things in return.
Jack was very happy to hear this. The old man took out 5 beans from his pocket.
Beans? But these are magic beans.
Jack, of course, did not believe him at first. But the old man insisted.
Look, young man, you seem like a good and bright kid. Take these magic beans. You won't regret it. Trust me.
Jack believed the old man and gave him Milkwhite in return for the magic beans. Happy with the exchange he had made, Jack ran home.
Ma, look what I've got!
Seeing Jack running to her so excited, his mother thought that he had sold the cow for a lot of money. But then when Jack showed her the magic beans, his mum was pretty cross. She threw the magic beans into the garden and sent Jack to his room. You are grounded in your room until I tell you to come out, and no dinner for you tonight. In the morning, Jack looked out the window, and he could not believe his eyes. From his bedroom window, he could see a stalk growing up really fast. This was neither a tree or a giant flower. This was a magic beanstalk. Jack jumped on the giant beanstalk from his window. Using the leaves and the twisty vines like the rungs of a ladder, he started to climb up the beanstalk. After a while, he found himself in a weird place where everything was much bigger than normal. He saw a path full of flowers and a very big house at the end of it. Jack came to the house and knocked on the door. A lady giant answered.
Well, I was going to ask if you had something to eat.
Yes, I do, but you must disappear before my husband gets back, because he loves the taste of young children and so he eats them up.
Jack, of course, was a bit frightened, but also he was very hungry. Just as he was sitting at the table to have a bite, he heard someone talking outside with a deep voice.
Fee, fo, foes, I smell a child with my nose. Raw or cooked, I don't mind. I can't get enough of those.
The woman called out to Jack.
Hide in the oven right this moment, my child.
Jack hid in the oven at once. The giant went into the kitchen and started to sniff around.
I can smell children.
What are you talking about, dear? You're probably smelling the meat I've given the cats yesterday.
After he had finished his dinner, the giant started to count his gold. After a short while, he was tired from counting the gold, and so he fell asleep. Jack came out of the oven and took a bag of gold. He threw the bag right under his magic beanstalk. Then off he went down, holding onto the beanstalk. He found the bag of gold he threw down and ran home right away. When Jack's mother saw the gold, she was very happy. From that day on, there would be no more poverty or hunger for them. But after a few months had passed by, all the gold they had finished. With no other option, Jack climbed up the beanstalk and went to the house of the giants. The giant's wife was somewhat a little suspicious of him this time.
Last time you were here, we lost a bag of gold.
But still she pitied the young boy and invited him in. Not long after, the giant came home.
Fee, fo, foes, I smell a child with my nose. Raw or cooked, I don't mind. I can't get enough of those.
Hearing the giant's song, Jack jumped into the oven once again. After finishing his dinner, the giant asked his wife to bring his chicken. When his wife brought the chicken, he ordered the chicken to lay an egg. Leaving Jack fully surprised, the chicken laid a golden egg. And when the giant went to his room to rest, Jack came out of the oven and took the chicken and rushed down the beanstalk. Thanks to the golden egg, Jack and his mother were rich once again. But after some time had passed, Jack decided to try his luck once again and started to climb up the magic beanstalk. This time he went into the house without being seen by the wife and hid in a big copper pot. Sometime later the giant came home.
Fee-fo-foes. I smell a child with my nose, raw or cooked. I don't mind. I can't get enough of those.
This time the giant's wife decided she wanted Jack caught.
If there is a child around here, then it should be in the oven.
Of course, Jack had hid somewhere else this time. The giant and his wife were determined to find the child, but although they searched everywhere in the house, they just could not find him. After their dinner, the giant put a golden harp on the table, and so he ordered play. Playing lullabies, the harp put the giant to sleep. At that moment, Jack knew that he wanted this harp more than anything else in the world. In order to do so, he climbed up the sleeping giant's knee, jumped on the table and to the harp. But something really unexpected happened. Help! The harp yelled. Jack jumped down the table with the harp on his back. The giant woke up and started to run after him. Jack started to slide down the beanstalk as fast as he could, and the giant followed. When he reached home, Jack called to his mother.
Mom, quick, bring me an axe.
They both started to cut down the beanstalk. And finally, the beanstalk, and of course the giant, fell down on the ground with a big noise. They were safe from the giant.
Oh good, we're safe.
They were safe all right, but Jack was very regretful of all the things he had done. He almost lost his life because of his greed. He promised his mother that he would never ever steal from anyone again and that he would work really hard from now on. From that day on, Jack and his mother were never poor again. Yes, they did have the golden egg-laying chicken to help, but Jack also never stopped working ever again. Once there lived a family not too far out from where we all lived. The Darling family. The Darling family had 3 children. Their names were Jan, Michael and Wendy. Wendy would always tell her mum how Peter Pan would always play the flute in her room. Her mother would always tell her that she was imagining things, but couldn't help but notice the leaves in the room, which always confused her a bit. Wendy would always say that the leaves fall off Peter Pan. One night, when their parents went out for the night, the kids were left home all alone, and when they got sleepy, they all went to sleep. Peter Pan silently entered their room and started looking for the leaves he had left behind. At that moment, Wendy woke up.
Peter Pan, I was waiting for you. Nobody would believe that you're real.
Wendy gave back the leaves she had been hiding for Peter. She really liked Peter, and so they sewed his leaves back on his clothing.
Wendy, would you like me to tell you an amazing adventure story?
I don't want to hear about an adventure. I want to live one, Peter Pan.
Right at that moment, Peter's small fairy friend, Tinkerbell, entered through the window.
Well, of course. I knew you'd be here. Are you getting ready for a new adventure without me?
You know it's not possible for me to do anything without you.
Wendy woke her siblings up. Her siblings looked at Peter Pan and Tinkerbell with great confusion.
Well, are you ready to fly?
Tinkerbell scattered her fairy dust and off they went floating into thin air, and all together they left the house. The kids headed towards Neverland at once. After a long journey, they arrived at Neverland, and there they were. The mermaids, wild animals, Indians, pirates, and the lost boys were there too. Amongst them all was the most dangerous of them, called Captain Hook. Captain Hook was Peter Pan's enemy. The reason for this was because when they were fighting, Peter cut his arm and a huge crocodile ate it. Along with his arm, he also swallowed his watch, and because of this, the crocodile would always make a tick-tock noise. And so Captain Hook would always know if the crocodile was near from the noise. When looking around with his binoculars on the deck, Captain Hook spotted Peter Pan and kids looking at him from the top of a hill. He immediately ordered the men to fire the cannons. It was very hard for Peter Pan and the kids to get away from the cannons.
Tinkerbell, you take the kids to a safe place. I will deal with Hook.
Tinkerbell was very jealous of Wendy, so she wanted to keep her away from Peter Pan. With some made-up excuse, she left Wendy back on the hill and brought Jan and Michael to a safe place down at the beach.
The lost boys who lived on the island saw Wendy from afar, and thinking that she was an enemy, they wounded her. At the same time, Peter Pan was fighting with Captain Hook, but seeing the crocodile that got his arm suddenly reappearing, Hook ran away in fear.
Ah! Whilst Peter Pan was coming back, he saw Wendy lying on the rocks wounded, and he was very upset.
And the lost boys were very sorry when they realized that the girl that they had wounded was Peter Pan's friend.
I have left the kids in your care.
Tinkerbell was so sorry. She also realized that what she did was wrong.
I am so sorry, Peter. This will never happen again, I promise.
Lost boys made a beautiful home for Wendy and her brothers. At night, they all would sleep in the house underneath the trees, listening to Wendy's stories. And Peter Pan would keep guard in front of the house. One day, when they were resting on the rocks, they spotted the pirates approaching. The pirates took the Indian chief's daughter hostage. Peter Pan and the boys went after to save the chief's daughter. And there was a big battle between them and the pirates. In the end, they saved his daughter and brought her to the chief. After that day, the Indians, Peter Pan, and the lost boys became very close friends. In fact, the chief ordered 2 of his best men in Peter Pan's command to guard the boys. Of course, Captain Hook was furious about this.
One day I will beat you, Peter Pan, and you will not be able to get away.
One night, when Wendy started to tell the story of her family, Peter realized how much she and her brothers missed their home. So he told them that they could go back if they wanted to, but that he wanted to stay. When they all were packing up for their long journey, they were attacked by the pirates. The pirates caught the boys after they set up a trap to the Indians and captured them. Peter Pan was sleeping at home, not knowing all that happened to the boys. Captain Hook saw him sleeping, but he could not open the door to Peter Pan's treehouse. still, he poured the poison in the bottle he was carrying under the door, causing Peter Pan to sleep for hours. Peter Pan slept one whole day, and when he woke up, Tinkerbell entered. After she told him all that had happened, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell went out to rescue the boys. When they arrived to the Happy Rock, the pirates' headquarters, they saw that there was no pirate on guard. And when they went over to the other side of the rock, they were shocked from what they saw. Wendy, Jan, and Michael and the lost boys were all tied up to the poles, and Captain Hook was holding a torch in flames.
Say your last words.
As their eldest, Wendy began to talk.
Dear friends, my last words to you will be the words your real mothers would have told you. If they were here, they would have told you not to be afraid and be courageous to face your death. Don't be afraid. Kindness always wins. Always.
Captain Hook got very angry with Wendy's words, so he brought her to the boat and tied her to the big pole. At this moment, Peter Pan and Tinkerbell reached out to save the boys. At the same time, the Indians and their chief came to help. This made Peter Pan so happy, because with their help, they rescued the boys. It was now time to get Wendy. Peter Pan and the lost boys got on Captain Hook's ship, where only a few pirates remained. And when they realized that they would be beaten, they jumped off the ship.
There's nowhere to hide, Hook. Surrender!
Peter Pan and the lost boys started to charge towards Captain Hook, pushing him to walk backwards, and suddenly he heard the noise, the one noise that he was most afraid of. When Captain Hook looked back in fear, he saw the croc waiting for him to fall down into the water.
Help!
In a flash, he ran to the other side of the boat, jumped and started to swim as fast as he could. Peter Pan and the lost boys began to laugh. From that moment on, Hook's ship belonged to the lost boys and their captain was Peter Pan.
The crew is ready for your orders, Captain Peter.
Sail away!
The boys untied the ropes and the sails blew up with all their might.
Tinkerbell, fly us away to the home of the Darling family.
The kids were very happy to hear this. Wendy, Jan and Michael were going to reunite with their parents they had dearly missed. When Tinkerbell sprinkled the fairy dust, suddenly the ship was airborne and started to fly in the sky. Wendy was restless to get home and tell her parents all about Peter Pan, Tinkerbell and the Neverland. From that day on, Neverland was going to be their second home and Peter Pan their best friend.